Welcome back, everyone. We've got Dawn Savignon with us, or AKA Don Drouillard.
That's right.
Can you elaborate, Dawn?
Yes. So my real name is Dawn Drouillard.
Okay.
And that's what I've been known as my whole life. And it's really a super funny story how my pseudonyms came about, which was accidental, but actually really beneficial at the same time. So it was back in like 2001, and my husband and I recorded our first record out in Los Angeles, where he was living at the time. And his friend is kind of a wordsmith, and he used to call me Dawn Savignon as just like a nickname.
okay.
Dawn Savignon, you know. And so I just kind of took to it because I thought it was funny. And so when we recorded our first record, in the liner notes, I just randomly wrote Dawn Savignon down just for kicks. And at that time, I had a catering company that I had started. And the catering company had grown and grown and grown and become, we had very, very affluent clients.
Okay.
And I was punk as fuck and super political. And I didn't want to have myself as the face of the company because I was too punk as fuck.
Okay.
And it kind of culminated in this. So I had kind of this double sort of life. Don Drouillard, the chef, and then Dawn Savignon, the rock and roller. No. And it kind of all came to a head in 2008 when the Republican National Convention came to Minneapolis. And we were chosen as one of 3 caterers inside Xcel Energy Center. And we had the highest level of security clearance of anyone in the city. We were doing the backstage catering for the Committee for Official Proceedings.
Oh.
So that whole summer before the event, it was in the fall of 2008, we were in all these meetings with Secret Service and all the planning and all of these things. And I was starting to panic like, oh my God, they're going to find out. They're going to know. Because at that time, our record, we had just recorded our second record, Oxycontinent. And we had a song on it called Condoleezza Rice, Are You the Devil? And it was like George Bush with devil horns. And it was just like all this shit, right? Boy Next Door Antichrist was a song about George Bush. And so meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, I'm paranoid. I'm like, my phone's going to be tapped. And then I started to realize at that time, Google, the settings aren't as advanced as they are now, the search engines. So at that time, if you searched Dawn Savignon, our band came up. But if you searched Dawn Drouillard, it was just food.
Okay.
And so I was never found out. And as got closer and closer to the event, we realized that the RNC didn't have their fucking shit together at all. So they had no idea
Are you surprised?
who we were
Okay.
or what we were doing. So meanwhile, we're like, my husband is going in and loading stuff in at midnight into the backstage. We're doing the food for the Cheney family and just all this madness. And I was completely protected by Dawn Savignon. So it kind of became this, this shadow identity for myself and my company because, Republican money is good with me. Yeah, we'll just give our, donations to the Planned Parenthood with your, with your check.
Oh my God, I love this story.
I didn't want to be controversial in my career. And so Dawn Savignon just kind of came about really organically. And I kept that for a long time. So on all social media, Dawn Savignon is me.
Tell us about your band.
My band is called That's What You Get. And it's all original music written by my husband, who's the guitar player and singer. We sing duets. Mm-hmm. We sometimes call ourselves the Sonic Mamas and the Papas. So we don't really sound like that at all. But I kind of like to think we're like Astro Rock or something.
Yeah.
We've evolved over the years. We were really hardcore and punk in the beginning and really fast and 4-piece, And as we've evolved over the years, we have brought some more electronic elements in. And when we first started, it was my husband and I and a drum machine, a Dr. Rhythm from the 1980s. And we brought the Doctor back. And so we just recorded a new record, and that will be out sometime in 2024, early 2024.
Okay.
It's finished, it's recorded, it's being mixed in LA by Toshi Kasai is mixing it, and we gave him carte blanche to kind of do whatever he wanted. Mm-hmm. And so the tracks were pretty bare because it was myself, my husband, a drum machine, and then some added percussion and some added drums, and just kind of, just a whole, we put it in a bingo roller, I like to say, with the music, the ball thing and the brrr, and then whatever's going to come out the other side. So we've kind of taken all the music and turned it on its head, and it's really fun.
Cool.
So there's a bunch of people who participated and friends. And so we've changed our name from That's What You Get to That's What You Get Party.
Oh.
Or Twig Party.
Twig party.
Yeah. And so Tochi, played a bunch of instrumentation on it that was missing. And then we had friends like Steve Brenzig and Joe Baumgard jump in and lay down tracks. And our friend Andrew Olson from Duluth, he's a metal drummer in, metal, just the metal with the double bass pedals, all that. And he hopped in and played drums on it, and he just sounded great. And so it's just this collaborative kind of thing that we created, and it's really super fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have what shows? Do you have stuff coming up?
We have a show March 30th
Okay.
at the Eagles, and we're playing with a band called The Crosses, formerly known as Die Kreuzen.
Okay.
So they were like a hardcore band,
Okay.
I think Amphetamine Reptile back in the day.
Oh, okay.
And they're from Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband lived in Milwaukee for a long time. And so the music, we're bringing in elements. For instance, we have a DJ from Milwaukee named DJ New Styles. And
Right on.
he's taken the place of our drummer in our live show. And so we're going to bring him in place of the Dr. Rhythm, essentially.
Sure.
And so Mike reached out to kind of his Milwaukee crowd and kind of bringing it together. So on the 29th of March, we're going to play at Last Rites in Milwaukee with New Styles. And then we're going to do a second night here in Minneapolis with the Crosses. And that's going to be a pretty huge show at down at the Eagles Lodge.
Okay.
So that'll be really, really fun. And it's kind of our launch, I guess,
Okay.
of the new Twig Party.
Of the Twig party.
So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. That sounds like so much fun. Can you tell us a little bit about Marcy Green?
Yeah.
Can we introduce her?
Marcy Green.
Okay.
Yeah, Marcy Green is my company that I launched about 2 months ago. And Marcy is Mary Jane's cousin. And it is a line of THC-infused culinary finishing oils. So, as I mentioned, I had a catering company, so I am a chef. And I created this product just to kind of hop on the bandwagon of the legalization here in our area, but also to come up with something that's different.
Yeah.
The market's kind of flooded with gummies and tinctures and all these things. So I'm like, gosh, what can we do to make it exciting and fresh? And so I came up with this line of finishing oils, and there's 3 signature flavors, and they are delicious, and you just dump them all over your food. And
What are the flavors?
Well, there's 3 flavors.
Okay.
So the idea is Marcy traveled the world, and on her travels, she encountered all of these amazing and fascinating people that influenced her line of flavors.
Okay.
So we have yellow curry, which is Saman Electra, and Saman was a drag performer in Goa, India. And it's an Indian curry, and it's amazing on popcorn. It's really good on like a cream of cauliflower soup.
Yep.
So the idea is you put it on right before you eat it as a buzzy flavor layer. Is what I'm calling it.
A buzzy flavor layer.
Buzzy flavor layer. So Saman Electra is our yellow curry. And then we have a green oil, which is super green antioxidants and herbs. And it's this beautiful bright green color, and it's really earthy.
Okay.
And that is called Mistress of Gaia,
Oh.
because Marcy had an affair with the goddess. And then we have...
Do you write children's books too?
No,
like
I'm
you
writing
should.
Marcy's story, and
Okay,
it's become this
sorry.
really whimsical, fun,
Yeah.
she's got a backstory and
Yeah.
all these adventures. And so as I develop it out of the 3 flavors, we're going to have different adventures and places where she goes.
That's
And then
so great.
the third oil is a red. It's a bright red. It's like pimentone, and it's a Spanish herb.
Okay.
And it's called La Mano de Oro, because she met a gentleman in Barcelona with a golden hand.
Marcy's so sexy.
Hand of gold. Yeah, so it's really fun.
That is super
And so
cool.
kind of this whole story kind of follows, and the artwork's really beautiful. Zach Sally designed our labels. So
Okay.
he's kind of a local rock guy, an artist and cartoonist. And so he's just created these beautiful little labels for everything. And we're going to expand that into swag.
Nice.
art prints and even t-shirts and things like that as we kind of get further down the road.
Okay.
But
Where can we find it right now?
right now you can find it online at marcygreen.com.
Okay.
And I've also just launched private dining experiences. So if people want an intimate THC dinner in their home, I will come to your home and cook for you. And for small groups, 4 to 10 guests.
Okay.
And I just put that up on my website like in the last 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
So
Yay.
there's a menu
Okay.
up. And so if people want to, if they're curious and they're kind of afraid of the dosing or anything like that or want it to be done for them, I just come in and do a kick-ass 5-course dinner. And with buzzy flavor layers, and we even do little mushroom additions if people want, and it's just really fun.
You also do like work around indigenous cooking too, right?
Correct.
Which is also super fucking cool.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay. So I am a direct descendant of the Grand Portage Band of Ojibwe, up from Grand Portage in northern Minnesota. So originally from Grand Marais, Grand Portage area. And so I have been involved in Indigenous foodways and food sovereignty work for some time. And recently I had been working with Dana Thompson, who is the co-founder of North American Traditional Indigenous Food Systems, which is a nonprofit, and Awamini Restaurant, which she won James Beard Award for, and her cookbook won a James Beard Award. And I worked for Dana for about a year, and she's no longer with either one of those organizations, nor am I. But we just discovered that we worked really, really well together, and we have the same core values. And we're like, let's just do our own thing.
Yeah.
And so we launched with this amazing event out in Boston in November, where we did an Indigenous dinner, 2 nights of sold out service at Quinn House, which is a private club in Boston.
Okay.
And it was just amazing. And we just did a great job. And we're put on this level of like Michelin star chefs in this venue, that was just a career highlight for me. And so Dana and I decided, that we want to develop it into something more. So we also are launching, it's called The Modern Indigenous, TMI. We have the web domain, but it's not live.
Okay.
So we're working actively now on getting content for that. So in the next few months, we're going to launch TMI and then try to book our services in just different events in different places to provide education and awareness of Indigenous foods.
And like, that's so critical. Like we don't think about that,
It is, especially important when you think about the history of Indigenous people in North America, because those food systems were systematically stripped away from Indigenous people as a form of genocide. Essentially, all the buffalo were slaughtered. Why were they slaughtered? Because it's easier to starve an Indian than kill an Indian. That was actual policy in the U.S. And so there's all this catching up to do. And so there's generations of just loss. And I like to, the way I kind of think of the modern Indigenous is taking these foods and pretending that never happened. And where would we be in America if these foods had been continued to be the main focus of our diets here? And with all the different technology and techniques and influences that we have that are not necessarily colonial, how would these foods have developed? And as a chef, how would we be preparing them,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way I approach when I create recipes and menus.
Sure.
Realizing that it is a little bit of a dichotomy, like modern Indigenous, it's, and that's kind of by design in a way, that it's traditional, but it's not at the same time.
I love that angle though. Like, how would it, like, if this were untouched? Like, if we were just allowed to be.
Yeah. Like how is a hamburger
how would
American food?
Get me started. I know.
It's not.
Like, it's not. It's not. No, but that's, we just don't think about it too much. We're just like, convenience.
And people don't, even Indigenous people, in the work that I've done, you ask even tribal communities, like, what is Indigenous food? And, fry bread. And that is not. Fry bread was given to Indigenous people. Here's a bag of lard. Here's some flour. Good luck.
Yeah.
When they had no other options.
Yep.
And so it's really more of a sign of resiliency, than actual history,
Sure.
or tradition. So it's really just asking a simple question. We were here for thousands of years before any boats came from Europe. Mm-hmm. What do we eat?
Not Doritos.
We were thriving. Yeah, not Doritos, And so it's just an interesting, it's just a really interesting field to be in. And people are really very supportive and interested. And that's kind of where change starts, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have so many cool things going on. Like, I don't even know how you just like don't explode. Like there's...
I don't know either.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Dawn.
Thanks for having me.
Dawn Savignon.